Welcome to the Leaderish Podcast with your hosts, Regina and Doris. Hey, Doris. How's it going?
Hi, Regina. I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing really well as we jump into season 4 of the Leaderish Podcast, your season 2. Can you believe it?
No, I can't believe it. This was on my vision board a year ago, and I can't believe that we are now entering season 4 of the podcast. As you said, season 2 for me. It's an unbelievable dream. So happy to be here with you.
I know. Me too. And I've been reflecting because new season, getting geared
Mhm.
up and all that good stuff. And I was reflecting on all of you who hit play on this podcast every other week and how thankful and grateful we are for you.
Oh my gosh, so grateful. We love all of our listeners, and we thank you so much for being a part of our growth as we continue to try to come up with topics, which we do all on our own. We have no help. Yes, we have people that we interview, but we have wonderful topics. And I think we enter each week wondering if the episode is going to be good. And by the time we're done, we are so happy with it. And we're so thankful for all of you who listen every time we share an episode.
Yeah, for me, it is just about putting goodness out into the world and how we can help other people grow and learn with them, or maybe have a nugget to drop that might be new for them. But really, for me, it's all about learning with each one of you every other week together.
I love that. Learning with, because you're right. It's what we do. We learn with other people. We may learn by ourselves if we read a book or we listen to a podcast, but the truth is we are all learning together. And Regina, I know you and I are lifelong learners. We constantly think it's important to learn.
Mhm.
And what is the topic we're going to talk about today?
I've been toying with what do we call this? Because there's a few things like the end result is getting more done. That's
Mm-hmm.
the end result. And so if we back up and we get to the root cause of how do we get more done, it's really by getting other people to help you get some of those things done.
So you did not find additional hours in the day?
I can't because I do require 8 hours of sleep. I've tried to do the less sleep thing so I could get more done. It doesn't work for me. I get less done. And I know that you're probably in the same boat here as you listen. You're wondering, how do I get all of these things done? I've got all these big plans and these big goals. And how do I get these things done when there are only so many hours in a day and you have to sleep?
Absolutely. In fact, that is one of my New Year's resolutions is to get more sleep because I don't get 8 hours. I'm lucky if I get 7 hours. And my goal is to get at least 7 hours in the new year.
Well, I have to get 8. I do prefer more, but my body requires that. And I always get jealous of people who are like, oh, I'm good on 4 or 5 hours of sleep. I'm like, oh my gosh, you have 3 more hours to
The
do the
truth
things that
is,
you need to do or want to do.
but the truth is they don't. They say they can survive. And you hear more and more studies about people shortening their lives because of less sleep or not getting enough sleep. And so,
Mm.
even though you may feel like you get more done today, there's a really good possibility that you're going to get less done by the end of your life because your life isn't going to be as extended. So, Regina, you're going to live to be 100. I may make it to 90. And those people that are living off of 3 and 4 hours of sleep, they're lucky if they make it to 60.
Oh boy.
Now, I'm
Oh
making those
boy.
numbers up. I
Of
don't fact
course.
check me on that.
Nobody's fact checking here. Oh, unless you have a crystal ball in front of you. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting about getting more sleep and how that helps you. And so the question is if we're going to try to get more sleep, how do we get more done? Right. And I think one of the reasons that I've been thinking about this so much, I know you know that I'm Hogan certified, which is an assessment for leaders and executives to help them understand how they show up when they're at their best, but also how other people perceive them when they're at their worst. It
Mm,
really gives a good view of your perception or how others perceive you. I've been reflecting on my own results as I've been working with leaders and coaching them around their insights from their Hogan assessment. And there's one thing that kind of keeps coming up for the people that I'm working with is that the diligence that some people have and how that becomes a derailment factor from getting things done through others. So we only have so many hours in a day. If we are diligent and want to keep control of everything that we're doing, then we can't ask others for help. And I want to give you an example. It's a
hmm.
today example.
Oh,
Okay, so let me just back up a little bit. We had a water leak in our house, and our hardwood floors in our dining room and our entry hall are all warped because of that. And we've had these fans going for days and days over the holidays. It's been really loud. It's like a wind tunnel in here. It's terrible. Today they come back to check the progress and they're like, the floors aren't drying out. We're going to have to rip them out. Oh my gosh. Now I'm having hardwood floors ripped out tomorrow.
mm,
All of my Christmas decorations are still up. And I looked at my kids. Now, normally I am very diligent about how I put up all my Christmas decorations. Every glass ornament has to be wrapped in a very specific way. Every string of lights has to be wrapped perfectly around the light thing, right? Today, I had to let my diligence go. And I did not bring out my dark side. Instead, I asked my boys, they're 9 and 11, and I asked them to please help me get everything packed up. These kids went into power mode. And not once did I say, you're not wrapping that right, or you're not rolling that ornament up correctly, or you've got too many ornaments wrapped in that tissue paper. I let it happen because I delegated some of the responsibility to my children. I know that that seems like a really stupid
no, it
example.
is not a stupid example. I love that example because you did something very important. You not only delegated the task, you let go of the control that you have on the how part of it.
That's right.
And that is so important to give power. And you use the word power, you gave them power. So they took the power, they used
Yes.
it, and they helped you get things done.
Yeah. And so I just set some pretty clear expectations with them. Like when you roll the lights, if you'll use the not pluggy inside and start there so that when we test them next year, we can plug in. Oh, yeah, mom. Yeah. They did it. No problems. Wrap the glass ornaments individually. Okay. No problems. I
Hmm.
set clear expectations. Everyone had a job to do. And we got our tree done, our mantle done, all of the other little things packed up, most of the stuff already upstairs in 2 hours today
That's amazing.
because I was not afraid of losing control. I set really good expectations. I had zero fear that my kids would not meet my expectations. And I trusted that no matter how it got done, it would still be okay.
That's a great example. That's a
Thank
really great
you.
example. I
I feel
know.
really good about it, Doris. I can't believe I'm admitting this. I hope my children never ever hear this episode.
I might have to make sure that they do hear this episode. Now, I may wait 10 years
Okay, fair.
when they're in college. I'll say, you need to go back to season 4, episode 1, and you'll see how proud your mom was of you.
That's right. So proud of those guys. But here's the thing, most of us choose to not delegate because of fear. In fact, I think that fear is the root of us not doing things or doing
Absolutely.
things that are
Yes.
scary. Fear
Mm-hmm.
drives us more than just about anything else. So I think that there's three reasons people don't delegate based on fear. And I think the first one is the fear of losing control. And you brought that up. Hey, you weren't afraid of losing control. So thank you for
Mm-hmm.
that, Doris. The second one is the fear that the people that you're delegating to won't meet your expectations. And then the
Mm-hmm.
third fear is the fear of losing relevance or authority.
Yes, I can see those. The first one, you said the fear of losing control. I think you may still have that feeling of fear of losing control as you are giving control to someone else. That doesn't mean your fear is going to go away,
Mm-hmm.
but it means that you're able to still do it while that fear is happening, allowing someone else to do the task for you.
Right.
So as you were allowing your boys, as you gave them the power to wrap those ornaments, I'm sure there was still a little hesitation, but you didn't have a choice. You knew it had to get done quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So you made the decision that for this year, I have to be okay being a little bit afraid and just allow it to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for saying that back to me because that was really helpful for me to hear that from you on what you heard from my story. So thank you. Thank
Hmm.
you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think the fear that others won't meet expectations. And I know in our notes we have practical strategies, including paint done from Brene Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest, as I was reading the notes, I had to go look that up. I couldn't remember what paint done was. And then I thought, oh my gosh, this is such a great example of what that means. And paint done means paint the picture for me that you want me to accomplish
That's right.
rather than making the assumption that you're just going to say, hey, put those ornaments away and don't break anything. That can't be what you say to your boys. It needs to be more specific on how can they not break those ornaments? How do
That's
they
right.
need to put those away? And you were able to paint the picture for them on exactly what they needed to do when they wrap those ornaments. And all of a sudden, they were meeting your expectations because you painted the right picture for them. They were able to accomplish the goal.
That's right. You know, that translates so much into work. And I know the silly story with my two boys. Okay,
It's a
fine.
great example.
It's a mom example because I'm off this week. However, this translates so well into work because getting all of the decorations down, you have too much on your plate right now at work. And when
Mm-hmm.
you have too much on your plate, most of us will become very diligent and try to get that all done all by ourselves. When that happens, we skip steps, we move too fast,
Mm-hmm.
we maybe don't do as good of a job as we want to, or we don't even get to one whole thing because we were too focused on a couple other things.
Yeah.
And so we can't get it all done without the help of others. And
Mm-hmm.
so, back to your point of painting done at work, even if you don't have people who directly report to you, you can still ask for help from
Oh,
other people.
100%. Yes.
And setting that expectation, painting done for the person that you're asking for help from is what's going to enable them to A, own it, and B, do a really good job, and C, give them enough autonomy to do it their way, which, by the way, may be different from your way. And
And
that's
may be
okay.
better. It may be a better way that you hadn't even thought of.
It may be better. You're absolutely right.
Yes. And I want to touch on your third fear. the fear
Yeah.
of losing relevance or authority.
Yep.
The truth of the matter is that when you're a good leader, when you are able to share tasks, you are probably going to be seen as a leader that needs a promotion. I think you become more relevant. The more you're able to give up control and the more you're able to lead a team, the more relevant you become. And others will see that and you will be rewarded for that. In fact, one of the examples from my corporate life was I was once called a soloist because I didn't want to give up that control. I was so certain the only way that it could be done was my way, and the only way that it would get done correctly was doing it 100% in my control and how I wanted it done. And my manager shared with me that I can't do that. I need to delegate. I need to be able to share control. And it was something that was a little bit of a challenge for me for many years. I had to learn how to do it. And when I finally did learn how to do it, I was rewarded with not only promotions, but job well done. People
Mhm.
recognized when I was able to share those tasks and get rid of that fear of control or fear of losing control.
Yeah. Also, if you are only focused on your own relevance and authority and you're a soloist, then you aren't helping to build other people. If no
Correct.
one is available to take over your job, you can't get promoted because no one else is ready to do what you do.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Hopefully, we're going to talk about succession planning at some point in this next
Hmm.
season. But that is another important thing is in order for you to be able to get promoted, you need to have a succession plan where you train others on how to do your job so that you can move on and they can take over your job.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole relevance and authority thing, it's such a deep rooted fear. I think it's also a fear that most of us don't even realize that we have. Also, when you are rewarded throughout your career for your individual work, it is really hard for you to find your own authority through others instead of through yourself.
Hmm. And
It,
I think that's a great point. Most people don't know. Others had to point out to me that that was a weakness of mine, of not being able to delegate,
Mhm.
that I was a soloist. That was considered a weakness for me, and others had to point that out. And I'm sure that our listeners can relate to that. Many of them can relate to that.
Yeah. And if you can relate to that and you're like, wow, that was really impactful, I'm just going to ask you to take this episode and hit the share button and share this episode with a friend who you think might be going through a similar struggle where they want to grow as a leader and as a human. They want to be able to get more done and they are stuck as a soloist, or they are stuck in fear of losing control, or fear that somebody won't meet their expectations, or fear of losing relevance or authority. So I think that the next thing that we can go to is how do we start shifting some of those mindsets?
I think sometimes it's taking that leap of faith. Sometimes it
Mm.
is simply sharing those tasks. First of all, getting real strategic
Mm-hmm.
on what it is you need to accomplish. What is the overall objective of this project or this goal or for the year? Whatever, however you want to break that down, figure out strategically what it is you need to get done, what it's going to take to get it done, and then who can help you get it done. Find the people, find the team, whether they work for you or not. Find the team that can help you get it done, and then reach out to them and start creating a plan around that. Work with them to get it done.
Yeah. And Don't just direct them to get it done, develop them. If you have the skill set right now at this moment to get it done, share that skill set. Help the person that you're asking to help you, help them to get it done. Teach them what you know, share with them the lessons that you've learned so that you can develop them into being able to do that work.
Yeah, and you started by sharing a little bit about the Hogan assessment, and many of you know that I'm certified with DISC, the DISC assessment. Those are two great tools to understand who your audience is so that you know how to develop someone else. So if you know where their strengths or their derailers are from the Hogan assessment, or you know what behavior quadrant they belong in from the DISC assessment, that can also help you as you delegate or as you work with someone or develop someone on those new roles. For example, with DISC, the difference between, let's say, an I or an influence, very creative type person versus a C, conscientious or more research based person. If you have a task, let's say you've got this plan and you know you need one person that's more of a creative, you're going to try to find that I, that influence type person versus the person that is more of a perfectionist, more of a research based person. Knowing who your audience is, understanding who they are based on some of these assessment tools that are out there, and then shifting that work and developing that person based on what you know about them and how they can succeed the most.
I love that. And also leveraging those types of assessment for your own self awareness. So you know where your strengths and your opportunities are. You know where your derailers are
Mm-hmm.
and how stress and pressure might affect you.
So true. So true. Absolutely. 100% start with yourself. Start with knowing yourself. That is the most important. And some of us have taken a really long time, and sometimes we need someone else to point out certain parts of us and who we are
That's right.
and where our strengths are. And these assessments can do a great job of that for us. So I would encourage our listeners, I would encourage you to find the assessment that works best for you and your team and what your needs are in your organization. Because many of these assessments, they have different strengths and weaknesses, and they're all going to be good for something to help you move your team, your organization forward. So find the assessment that you think works best and then use that. And don't just use it once. Don't use the assessment, look at the results, and then stick the results in a file drawer somewhere, but use them to your greatest advantage and helping you build your teams, knowing who the teams are, where their strengths and weaknesses are, and use that to your advantage.
Well, if you stick it in a drawer, you've wasted money.
Mm-hmm.
It's really that simple. If you're not going to use it to grow and develop and understand yourself and others, then it wouldn't be something I would recommend for you. But if you're ready to grow and learn more about yourself and others, then I would 100% recommend a Hogan or a DISC assessment or an MBTI to help you dig in and learn a little bit more about yourself and maybe even uncover a few blind spots.
Oh, I love that word blind spots because I
Mhm.
know we all have them.
Yeah, my blind spot was this delegation and this diligence. And the lack of delegation is the result of high diligence. And what would happen to me is I would take everything on and I would try to get everything done. And then that perfectionist that you speak of would come out, right? And then the imposter syndrome would come out because I couldn't get it all done. Or maybe I was lacking a skill, but felt like I should have that skill and everybody else has it, but I don't. All of those things happened to me all at once, and it created quite a bit of swirl in my brain until I was able to uncover what it was that was happening. And oh my, it is diligence. So it was really helpful for me. And I know that something like that might be really helpful for you as well. I do have a few more strategies to help you with better delegation so that you could get more done. So I
What
think,
are those?
oh, yeah. The next one, we already talked about paint done. That was our first one, and we wove that one in because it's so good.
Hmm.
The second one is setting realistic deadlines so that you can balance the pace and quality of work. I had a boss who said to me, and used this term quite often, there are three considerations for a project: cheap, fast, and good. You only get to pick two.
Mm-hmm.
If you want it cheap and good, then it won't be fast. If you want it fast and good, it won't be cheap. You get my point. You
Yeah.
only get to pick two of those three things. I have no idea where it came from. As far as I know, it was just that old boss of mine, but maybe it came from somewhere else. And that's where making sure you balance the pace and the quality of the work that you need from the person that you're asking to help is important. And I find that when you allow the person you're delegating to set their own plan and take full ownership of that plan instead of you saying, here's what I need, here's what I need to buy, here's how I need you to do it, they're going to actually do a way better job. When they feel that ownership, they're going to dig in a little bit
Yes.
deeper than if they didn't.
I would agree with that. As long as they know exactly, going back to paint done, as long as they know what those expectations are.
That's right. That's right.
What does this part of the project look like when it's done?
Mm-hmm. Yep. You nailed it.
Hmm.
The next tip that I have is more about reframing delegation in our brains so that we aren't overcome by fear. And the first way to do that is to reframe delegation as growth for others. When
Oh,
you're
I love that.
asking,
Yeah.
yeah, when you're asking someone to help you with something that you actually already know how to do, you are helping them grow as an employee, as a friend, as a teammate, maybe into another role or another job. You're giving them more tools in their tool belt to help them for their future. So
Hmm.
reframe that as growth.
Yes. I love that. That is so important. I don't know that I can say it any better than you just did. Reframe it for growth. You're developing
Yeah.
someone else. And I have a project that I have been leading both here in Tennessee and in Los Angeles. So one of the organizations that I'm a part of is a professional insurance organization called CPCU. And we have an annual event. Every chapter has an annual event. So I helped out with that event in California and I help out with it here in Tennessee. And our new president of the chapter is forcing me to delegate more. And this is one of those areas where this is a volunteer organization. I don't have to do any of this stuff, but I know I want this annual event to come off as fantastic. And it always does. And I never seem to have the team members, and again, volunteer team members, to take on those tasks or to do it as well as I can. And this year, our president is forcing me to take on a co chair that will eventually take over this annual event so that maybe I can retire from leading this annual event eventually. And so that's the goal for 2026 is that I will co-lead, develop the next person coming on so that he or she can take on that leadership role in 2026 and I can maybe set aside and only help rather than lead. I will be the helper instead of the leader of that event.
I wish that you could have seen the way that I looked at Doris when she said that, because I moved my head to the left and just gave her the squinty eye, side eye thing when she said, they're forcing me. Oh, the soloist is back. But you see it. And luckily, you have someone in your corner who is willing to say, hey, Doris, you need help. You can't do this all alone. How
Mhm.
beautiful is that? And that's the one thing that we didn't talk about is how do you get people in your corner to help you with that, to help you notice when you've taken on too much and to help you decide where you can ask for help and farm some of this growth out to other folks who
Mhm.
need it to move forward with their career.
You know what the key to that is?
What?
Ask.
Oh, yeah.
Believe it or not, asking people will deliver results. And I'm going to go back to this CPCU example. The incoming president has been fantastic this year about growing the board. Again, all volunteers. And these are people that I would have assumed, oh, don't bother asking that person. He or she is going to say no. And oh no, our president asks, and the answer was yes. And that's sometimes all you have to do when you are part of a committee or you are on a leadership team is simply asking someone, can you help?
Yep.
It can be the key to your success. Sometimes you are afraid to ask because you think the answer is going to be no, but quite often people want to help. They're just waiting for you to ask them to help.
Thank you for saying that because it just dawned on me, and I think it probably dawned on you as you're listening to this right now, too, that oftentimes we don't ask because we're afraid that it's going to give the other person more work. And
Hmm.
so we just don't even ask if they want to participate or if they
Yeah.
want to help because we have so much work, we assume everyone else does too.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Or you're just judging behaviors and making assumptions that aren't true. And we all
Mm.
know the definition of making assumptions.
Oh, that reminds me because you and I are planning out our quarter. And so we've got all these really great ideas and this really good schedule going. But one of the episodes that we're doing in January is around the growth mindset.
Hmm.
And it goes back to setting expectations and having an expectation, either if it's said or unsaid, in your brain for how well will perform. So,
Hmm.
just a little plug that's actually going to be our next episode that we'll release on January 17th. And I'm really excited for us to talk about that growth mindset in more detail.
Oh, that's one of my favorite topics.
I
I
know.
love the growth mindset topic. Yes.
Me too. All right, we are about out of time for today. What a lovely episode. We hope that you have enjoyed this episode as much as Doris and I did creating it. I want you to walk away with a few really good nuggets and some things that can help you be more productive as you have more and more things piling up on your plate. And if you enjoyed this episode, would you please share it with one or two of your friends? We would be forever grateful. We come on here every other week just for you, and we would like to add more yous to the list of yous. So, we'd love to talk to you too. You can find all of our links in the show notes. You'll see both email addresses, LinkedIn, websites, all of that good stuff. You can even schedule with one click a free consultation to see if there's some work that we can do together. And also, if you have any ideas for upcoming episodes, we've got the next couple months planned out, but we are always looking for ideas and we can always move things down and move things around. If you've got something burning, we want to hear about it because we want to give you what you want. Last thing, a little review. If you wouldn't mind leaving us a review, we'd love that. You can do that wherever you listen to the Leaderish podcast.